would you say are the most exciting developments in fintech at the moment?
I think what's really exciting at the moment in fintech, I think a lot of people are probably going to say the same, is what's happening in open banking and open finance. We're now seeing that across 90 countries in the world, so it's really starting to take off. It's making payments faster, cheaper. The important thing is the speed. There's some challenges with that, but actually that's exciting too because it allows the industry to solve those challenges. And just in the UK alone, I think there was something like just last month 11.4 million transactions in open banking. And considering that was a standing start a few years back, it's showing that the power there and how people, the likes of myself shopping or my son and my family, we don't know what it is, but we are using it. And there's some great use cases with NatWest, with variable payments, variable recurring payments. It's finding some really good use cases right now. So I think that's exciting.
What would you say are the biggest challenges facing?
I mean, the elephant in the room, it's not really an elephant, is it? It's something that we all know about, is the funding has dried up. There was only 3 unicorns or companies valued globally in Q3. In 2022, there was 163 throughout the year. So for the seed and the startups, it's there's money out there, but for the best ideas. Until interest rates readjust themselves, we don't know when that's going to be. We're not going to see that get any better. I guess the good thing about that is that the fintechs that are, actually have a real solution that's solving a real world problem, they will survive and they'll be more resilient. They might not grow at the same pace as they would have in a more in a market where money was freer, but actually it's quite nice in a way that we're getting back to a situation whereby there's not just money being thrown at the sector, that it's that resilience. The companies that are surviving are the most innovative, the most resilient. The cream is rising, and I like that.
We wanted to have some practical tips of how people could help protect themselves from fraud in the current environment, with increasing scams and AI obviously becoming an issue with fraud going forwards.
I would say I'm going to be really sort of practical about thinking about this in terms of your family rather than sort of the industry. The vulnerable are the ones that are going to suffer the most. And I've had an incident in my friendship group with someone who's a friend of mine who's in her 70s and just got scammed her whole, not just life savings, but 2 properties from a scammer online through years of grooming and scamming. The scammers, are working together, they're organised, they're smart, they're one step ahead. Talk to the people in your family, educate them, the vulnerable, the elderly that are sitting at home lonely, people ringing them up, wanting to talk to them and then feeling they've got a friend. They're the ones that are going to get scammed, because they don't understand necessarily what's going on, and they can be fooled because sometimes there's people with dementia and other things where they're not have the same wherewithal that they may have had, earlier on in their life. Talk to your kids, about it. They're constantly educating people on, what the signs are. Never give out your credit card details. If your bank rings you, it goes without saying, but people still do it. So, let's all take that responsibility in our inner circles, in our communities, where we can, to, make sure that those messages arrive, land, and are acted on and executed on.
If you were choosing a new banking provider today, what would you look for in account?
Those that have really thought about that customer journey. I'm not going to name names, there's some brilliant companies out there, and they're not all the challengers. Some of them are, I won't say, but some of the big banks are fintechs in their own right now. They've caught on. They, know that the banking sector needs innovating, and they have risen to the challenge. The challenges have pushed them to do it, but they seriously have, and they're the ones with the scale. They're the ones with the millions of customers using their system. So, for me, it's all about that kind of easy, fast way of being able to open a bank account, and then really good modern ways of paying. The bank that I use, it totally embraces open banking, and it's now become the fabric of what we do as a family as well.
In your opinion, what are the biggest challenges right now when it comes to tackling fraud in the UK?
Okay, so yes, there's loads. In terms of currently what's happening is that the UK has been seen as a rich market and has been targeted by other countries because we've outsourced a lot of our payment centres, customer service centres, and lots of these service type of things that we banks and even phone companies were outsourcing to other companies in different regions. So now because of the currency difference, we're being targeted by loads of different countries who are seeing British citizens as a source of quick cash and a lot of cash as well. So they're infiltrating different areas of our society, including healthcare, banking, and along with COVID, they started focusing on personal vulnerabilities people have with their family relationships, going through WhatsApp channels to say, "Mom, could you wire me some money?" So they're reaching out to society in ways that they will get them to interact using their emotions.
What impact do you think AI is going to have on fraud in the UK?
If you're thinking about the banking industry and FinTech, AI can help them understand the KYC process better. Predominantly, banks have to have a different screening process. They should be screening people at the start. So when you introduce yourself to a business, a financial institution, you should be immediately KYC'd, ID checked, and AI can help make that easier and leave less room for error without people having to sort of check it by eye. So it helps with scalability. So it really depends on the vertical and who's asking, and I think AI can mean lots of different things for different sectors.
Whose responsibility do you feel it is to educate young people around the dangers of fraud?
Parents. I think it's about making people aware that their personal finances are their responsibility. I think banks have to do a lot. So when they offer bank accounts that provide people with ways of paying online, they have to educate them and explain to them, like, what does this mean and what you're exposing yourself to. So banks have a lot of responsibility to make sure that their younger clients are aware of the dangers and that they're not always safe and secure and guaranteed. And also, I think the device makers, they have to be responsible for it and ensure payment security big time, because they're now, when they allow integration to happen between these apps, they have to consider how is it happening and whose responsibility. And I think that's what the ecosystem has to decide, where the liability lays. And because, all these card schemes are not going to constantly accept liability for things where people have been irresponsible and they've exposed payment information.
So in terms of that, what in the fintech area, banking area that you see, what innovations have you seen that are really making a difference in trying to protect customers?
Yeah, so fintechs are doing so much. They're innovating so much, and a lot of the time not even profitably. So they're focusing on innovation, which I applaud over everything else. People assume they make huge profit margins. They don't. They're really, really passionate and care about innovation. And they're doing a lot in terms of biometrics. So behavioral biometrics, you touched upon AI, using AI to understand behavior. So they're monitoring things that you wouldn't even think about, like how people interact with a device.